All right, we want to go to Capitol Hill now. Jessica Smith is standing by with a Senator Mike Braun, in fact. Jess?
Hey, Julie. Yeah, the Senate has quite a few things on their to-do list before heading out for the August recess this week. Trade is obviously top of mind here in Washington. So we wanted to ask Senator Mike Braun of Indiana about these trade talks. You know, hopes are muted for an actual deal to come through this time around. I don't think anyone's expecting that. But what are you hoping for at the end of these trade talks this week?
Well, number one, USMCA, we need to get that through. That's pretty well, I think, sitting in Nancy Pelosi's camp. I think she'll slow walk it to maybe extract some favors. But speaking of trade talks with China, I think they are really posturing from a long view. I think that when they backed out here a few months ago, it was because, wow, we're getting too close to putting this thing in ink. And then I didn't think those were wholesome reasons about actually enforcing some of the things they might agree to, you know, through their bureaucracy and their grassroots. I really believe they may be calculating this to wait and see what happens in November of 2020. So that being the case, I think anything we get done before then is a win. Sadly, I think that it's going to keep that state of flux in play. And for anyone that's made a real heavy move to China, I think you're going to have plenty of time to maybe reanalyze your supply chain and look at what business would be like if you try to get more involved in China, because I think they've displayed a behavior that would bother me.
You know, the president says he's okay if we make a deal, he's okay if we don't. So my question is, how much more can Indiana farmers and manufacturers take if they stretch this out? You know, Cummins, based in Indiana, has said that the tariffs have already canceled out the benefits from tax cuts. So how much more can they take?
I think they'll all make it through. I'm more worried about the farmers than I would be larger businesses. I mean, all of us as CEOs had to gauge what to do with China. I never had a warm and fuzzy feeling with them, and I think that gut feel is playing itself out now with all the bad behavior that they exhibit. So I think if you're heavily involved, like some businesses are, look at how you're going to adapt, because there's no certainty that you're going to get it fixed between now and November of 2020. I hope the administration works hard to do it, but I think even President Trump is hedging his bets with that kind of statement. Farmers, on the other hand, I think there's going to be help given to them. They've had a year that they'd want to forget with planting issues, you know, still the retaliatory tariffs. Farmers got other issues that arise from high input costs and big corporations dominating their industry. So they've got some other things to work through as well.
Should Huawei be wrapped up in these talks? You know, the president has granted some relief to Huawei, but also said it's a national security threat. So should Huawei be tied into these trade talks?
I think it's hard to give Huawei the benefit of the doubt when you know that their capitalism is state capitalism and that it's the Politburo running the show, and their behavior shows that. So I think Huawei is going to have to be held very accountable, even though they might be maybe more of a wholesome enterprise than what you'd imagine. They're in the context of being part of their system that I think you got to err on the side of being cautious.
You know, I also wanted to ask you about this budget deal that the Senate is going to take up this week. The president is urging the Republicans to get on board, but you're opposing it. Why?
I ran on fiscal discipline. I ran on securing the border. I ran on trying to address healthcare issues and a few other things, infrastructure. All of those are tied to a lack of discipline. I know where Leader McConnell is. He is kind of grown with the system and inherits the dynamic of the moment, which we don't want a government shutdown. We don't want the debt ceiling to implode to where the Democrats take advantage of it when their philosophy is pushing us into all these issues budget-wise anyway. I'm asking Leader McConnell and President Trump, after we win, we better in 2020, for the sake of fiscal conservatives like myself, and not kicking it down the road to where it impacts future generations, we've got to change the dynamic that's in play here.
My last quick question for you is, this is expected to pass the Senate,
yeah,
but a government shutdown is still on the table. Do you see there being another funding fight this fall?
I got a feeling that that's not going to happen. It seems like Republicans and conservatives always get caught holding the bag there. But the solution to this is we need to start operating more like most states do, like Indiana. And to me, that is where you start including defense along with domestic programs and do what all other entities would do. Play by rules where if you had this kind of behavior, there'd be accountability, and start reining ourselves in. So many people depend on the federal government. We're going to be a major disappointment for many, and it'll be the elderly that rely on retirement and health care, and poor folks that rely on Medicaid that will feel the brunt of it next time around. That would be a travesty.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Senator Mike Braun of Indiana, thank you so much for joining us. We'll send it back to you, Adam and Julie in New York.
Okay, Jess, thank you.